All right, welcome back. Excuse me. I had planned on making this video yesterday. I completely planned on it yesterday, but I didn't get around to it, but I'm here now. I'm going to do a response video to this individual who goes by the name of Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. He has abbreviated his name simply to CLR. Now, before I respond to this video, and I want to respond to this particular video, I have a few questions for the host of this channel. Where are you from? Where's your family from? I tried to do some background checks on this individual and I could not find it. Now, he could very well be Black American. Okay, foundational. Let me be specific because there is a point there in including the word foundational. Immigrant Africans can be Black American. I'm not talking about that. He may be foundational Black American. We got our share of individuals like this. I'm going to try my best to be respectful. I want to keep my mature hat on for this video. Okay. I feel like Black people get more than enough of the gutter rhetoric and lingo. And I want to always make a point to be an example. We can get our point across without using profanity. And listen, I can get my point across without insulting you, bro. So I'm going to be respectful. But where are you from? I took a look at your channel. And I see that you started your channel some 5 years ago. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up. I've been creating YouTube videos since 2004. I've abandoned several channels that have 1,000 more subscribers than your channels. And I'm not saying that to brag. I have a serious question. How is it that after 5 years, you only got 200 subscribers? Especially when you covering topics like you're covering. I'll tell you why. It's because the people ain't feeling you. The collective body of Black people ain't feeling you. And I'm sure you'll say that that's because we have some brain aberration, some genetic defect associated with our Blackness. Okay, save it. I know that's probably what you're thinking. Well, Black people just dumb. They just retarded. That's why they don't get the message. No, it's because you not charismatic. You was not built to be no leader of the people like what you trying to be. Out here making all these videos thinking you about to be a messiah. People ain't feeling you. My dude, how is it even possible for you to make videos 5 years ago titled Black Hypocrisy and that thing only got 3 views? How in the hell do your videos get such low views? I'm telling you now, as a very experienced content creator, it is because your content sucks. You're not a speaker. So you would be better off writing. Stop talking. Go write yourself a book. And I'm not being disrespectful here. You created this video about Tariq Nasheed, bashing him. Well, guess what? His career started by writing a book. Have you even been that productive yet? Okay, I've digressed before I even started. Let's get into this. He uploaded a video 3 days ago about Tariq Nasheed. Used Tariq's face. And that video has 940 views, far more than 99% of his other videos. No surprise there. The title of this video is Tariq Nasheed helping the Black community? Now, people, what I want y'all to be mindful of is the anti-black male energy in this country. It is on display by people of all races. This guy, who I believe considers himself a red pill type of guy, some type of black conservative, okay? He is spewing, and he has on full display racism against black people. Okay, since you want to summarize Tariq as a race hustler, if I were to summarize you, I would call you a racist against black people. And I'm going to get into why on this video.
Mac lessons, in other words, teaching men, writing books on how to, men to gain women, to how to get women. And he does various other things, such as, he sell items on online, like clothing.
Okay, let's skip all that. We know what he does. He also mentioned that Tariq held the expo in Dallas at the some stadium. It wasn't the Hidden History Museum. It was at some other venue. And I don't know why he attempted to project that as some type of negative thing, but listen to it.
Now he basically, and again, this particular expo, is all about, I guess, black folks networking with each other. I'm guessing this is what it is. Now he had some guest speakers there, and one of those was Dennis Berlin. Now Dennis Berlin gave a shout out to Tariq.
Look, I don't want to hear that either. We know what he said. Let's get to the point.
If he's helping the black community, the first thing we have to do is we have to examine him and look at the things that he's doing.
So he's saying, he asked the question, is Tariq Nasheed helping the black community? Okay.
Now, anyway, in order to determine if he's helping the black community, the first thing we have to do is we have to examine him and look at the things that he's doing.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, we can do the same thing with you. If that's how we determine if he's helping the black community, we can use that same standard to determine whether or not you're helping the black community. Okay? Fair is fair. So what exactly are you doing? Where's your book? Do you have a book? I couldn't find it.
And
how well is it selling?
Then we have to look at the black community. We have to examine the black community. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the problems in the black community? Then we have to decide if what he's doing helping the black community. So let's start with him. Now, as I said, he's a race hustler. I mean, the thing that he's known for more than anything now is race hustling.
Okay, now this is where I wanted to. This is the point I wanted to deal with and go in on, because this is flat out, straight up racism. This is what you would expect to hear from a racist white supremacist. They make it a rule to dismiss and ignore the content of your videos, books, and instead degrade your existence. Oh, he's just a liar. Oh, he's just this, he's just that. And it's always something negative. And it kills me how these people, they actually believe like they're helping the black community. You only help to further demonize black males. Do you not? How can you not see that? Listen, as black men, we have enough people who look at us and assume we're some type of criminal or crook or con artist. That's probably the most prevalent. There are a bunch of people right now who view me as a con artist. That's a stigma that we have to deal with, no matter how so-called successful you are. I can share videos right now of black attorneys, black lawyers who've been lawyers for several decades, telling you the same things that Tariq says. That there's a different standard when it comes to black males. And when they see a successful black male, they assume that he had to cut corners to get that success. He had to do something illegal or immoral to get that success. And here's where the problem is. They can't deny that Tariq has money. So just like a bona fide racist, you have black males who sit up and project this idea that Tariq earned his money by being a crook, a con artist, some type of evil villain or criminal. That's racism. You're not dealing with the content of his arguments at all. Instead, just putting labels on them. That don't fly. Listen, I wouldn't even tolerate that if you were doing that to one of my enemies. I want to deconstruct my enemy's arguments in detail. I'm not just going to sit and call them names. So one thing that Tariq is doing that you're not doing is dealing with the content of a person's argument. So you're losing credibility. And this is why, after 5 flipping years, you only got 200 subscribers. Let's continue.
He's a racist. I mean, the thing that he's known for more than anything now is racist. He make these fake documentaries, these hidden colors.
He called them fake documentaries, not documentaries. He referred to them as fake documentaries. People, this is flat out white supremacist talk. This is racist talk. He sounds just like a white racist. Fake documentaries? What do you mean? How on earth, what type of person degrades a historical documentary where you just sharing history?
And anything now is racist. He make these fake documentaries, these hidden colors.
Ain't that incredible? A black man makes a historical documentary about history, and you have racist black people like this calling him a fake, a fraud, attacking an educational video. Dude, that's why you lose credibility. That's why ain't nobody subscribing to you, bruh. Everybody who listens to Tariq, they know he ain't perfect. None of us are. It's all about what you do despite being imperfect. What are you doing despite being imperfect? Are you doing more than what Tariq is doing? Don't sit up and try to project yourself as some type of saint, as if you're not flawed yourself. I see you got an eating disorder. You sitting up on camera with gyno. You say you need to look at what Tariq is doing to see if he's helping the black community. Let's look at what you're doing. At least Tariq works out. He makes an effort. Are you at least dieting? Okay, so am I wrong for pointing out what you're doing that could influence someone? You want the type of influence and respect that Tariq gets. That's what you want. That's why you putting yourself out there like this. And you judging Tariq based on what he's doing in his personal life. So let's judge you. Since Tariq is supposed to be an example, a role model, you're judging him based on the assumption that he's a role model. That people look at him and look up to him and want to do the things that he do. Well, if people do the things that you do, they're going to be obese and unhealthy. Let's continue.
He's a racist. I mean, the thing that he's known for more than anything now is racist. He make these fake documentaries, these hidden colors, under this ridiculous notion that if the information is not widely known or being taught in school, then somehow that means that somebody's trying to hide it.
Why? This really threw me for a loop. The idea is very simple. If something is not taught in the public school system, then it's acceptable to say that information outside of that school system, it's acceptable, it's reasonable to say, hey, this is being ignored. It's being what? Hidden. They don't want to teach this information to the largest body of people, to the masses. Like, what a stretch to attack a historical documentary, which really reveals your true inner hatred, dude. You just dealing with demons right now, insecurities and all of that. And that's the root of people like this. It's insecurity, jealous that he can't speak and captivate and keep an audience. You can't put out material and get the same kind of respect that a Tariq Nasheed gets. So you resort to bashing. Okay, let's continue. Let's hear him out.
It is a ridiculous notion that if the information is not widely known or being taught in school, then somehow that means that somebody's trying to hide it. Even though the information that he really puts out in his video is readily available for anyone who wants to go do the research. So it's not an issue of any colors being hidden. It's just that some people just they either don't know or too lazy to go do the research and find those said colors.
Which is exactly the point. That's the whole purpose of creating a documentary. It's for the people who don't read the books. That's precisely the audience it's made for. Because guess what? That's the larger audience. So all this babbling you're doing is counterproductive. Shut your mouth. I swear, this idea, there are so many people out here, so many black men who they got a superiority complex, like this guy. So desperate to be a god among men and to be followed. No, so desperate to have as much influence as Tariq Nasheed. That's what it is. And jealous because you know for a fact you will never ever have the type of support following of a Tariq Nasheed ever in your life, and you know it. And that's the root of your hatred. Confident people don't get into this. I know because I'm a confident person.
But essentially, he just teaches victimhood.
There you go again. He said Tariq teaches victimhood. Another genuinely white supremacist talking point. To sum up all of Tariq's videos, for example, to sum up all of his live streams by saying that he just teaches victimhood, that's not only dishonest, disingenuous, it's not only a lie, dude, that is pathetic. That's the extent of your effort to project him as a race hustler, as a person who's not helping the black community. Yeah, I'm not impressed. And the majority of black people not impressed. That's why after 5 years, you ain't got but 200 subscribers. Ain't nobody trying to hear you, dude. You know who the people are that you attract? Other hole in the wall people like yourself. And listen, when I look at your small following, that gives me a lot of pride in black people. I'm proud of black people. Because over 90% of them are not following you, not trying to listen. That shows that we're making a whole lot of progress. Let me back this up.
Wants to go do the research. So it's not an issue of any colors being hidden. It's just that some people just
This is so thoughtless and pathetic. Yeah, some people, they're not the type to crack open a book. Let me rephrase that. Since we're talking about Black America, very possible that the majority of Black America is not interested in cracking books. But those same people would be willing to watch a documentary. It's easier to engage when you have visuals, when you have people talking that you can see, and you have other visuals that you can look at. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the fact that some people are far more receptive to information when it comes from a documentary, and that they are not the type to read a whole book? So your heart, your mind is not with the people. That's why they're not rocking with you. You need to sit down. And it sounds like you got a white wife. Let's be honest. Where's your wife? Honestly, it sounds like you got a white family, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to mix it up, don't get out here trying to be no spokesman for Black people. And definitely don't try to put down Black people who are in the public eye, who have made some accomplishments. But let's continue. And back this up a little bit. I don't want to lose y'all. I don't want to lose your train of thought here. Listen to what this man is saying.
What it puts out in his video is readily available for anyone who wants to go do the research. So it's not an issue of any colors being hidden. It's just that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry, people. I got to take my time with this. People, I cannot tell you how many people I've met, and I've somewhat the same way, who they only started to read books after they saw the documentary. The documentaries was what inspired them to read books, because they're like, whoa, wow, all of this information is in these books. On top of that, Tariq gives references to the books, and Tariq represents the scholars that we respect. Yes, he has his ratchetness, but he's open about it. He's letting you know, hey, I'm not perfect. And the thing is, it's not like he gets on camera and is a totally different person from who he is when the camera's off, which is what I suspect many other people do. He's saying, hey, I'm not perfect. I drop the N-bomb from time to time. I use profanity from time to time. You can take it or leave it. People can rock with that. People can respect that. But for you to try to insult or degrade a documentary, dude, there's no way for you to justify that. You're out of line. You're out of line, flat out, trying to attack an educational, about Black history of all things. Trying to attack an educational documentary. Black history, dude, that's the most neglected topic in the public educational system, which again tells me your heart and mind is not with the people. You ain't from the hood. I've listened to some of your videos. You probably hung out around the hood from time to time. You probably had a cousin in the hood. Bro, you not from the hood. You don't come from the people, dude, talking the way you talking.
Do the research. So it's not an issue of any colors being hidden. It's just that some people just either don't know or too lazy to go do the research and find those said colors. But essentially, he just teaches victimhood. All he teaches Black people to be victims, woe is me, systemic racism, white supremacy. Let's cry for reparations, of which we are not owed anything. And there was never, there's never.
So Tariq teaches nothing but victimhood, woe is me, I'm a victim, and reparations. And he said that we're not owed anything. Again, another talking point that suggests that you're married to a white woman and that you're married to a racist white woman. That's right. You're married to a racist white woman. And not only that, you hang around with white supremacists. Let me back this up. Boy, this guy is from outer space.
But essentially, he just teaches victimhood. All he teaches black people to be victims, woe is me.
How do you teach somebody to be a victim? You talking as if black people are dumb. Teaching us to be a victim? How do you even do that? No, you either point out the racism in a particular scenario, news report, or whatever, and the people will either agree or disagree. They'll either believe you or they won't believe you. It's up to you as the channel host to be persuasive, to convince them, provide the evidence, the receipts, and let them decide for themselves. No. It don't work like that.
All he teaches black people to be victims, woe is me, systemic racism, white supremacy.
Okay, so this guy talks as if racism doesn't exist. I talked about this several times. White supremacy doesn't exist and racism doesn't exist. I don't even listen to people to be honest with you. I don't even listen to people like this. And what else? Reparations are what we're not owed. When a person says that they got a problem with black Americans campaigning for reparations, they're either an immigrant, they're not black American, or they're just so cooned out of their mind that they, crazy enough to get on camera and talk the way he's talking. Dude, we're owed reparations. I cannot imagine, and I've pictured this several times, me being a slave. As hard as it is to imagine, being a slave my whole life. Working hard my whole life. Then sitting up in my home at 75 years old and having to realize I did all this work for my whole life and I cannot pass nothing down to my children. But my master has been enriched by my labor, and he's going to pass that wealth down to his children. And you're saying that almost an entire population, generation after generation, this happened to them. And you're saying today, and this took place, over some 200 years, 250 years this went on. And you're saying their descendants today are not owed reparations? Where are your videos where you are protesting against other people receiving who've already received reparations? I don't see you pulling your hair out about other groups receiving, but I'm sure you will say those other groups had it worse than black Americans, right? That wouldn't surprise me.
Cry for reparations of which we are not owed anything. And there was never, there's never any quote unquote benefit for any mistreatment of black people or black people be treated as second-class citizens or being enslaved. Because if that's the case, everybody on this planet would get reparations from somewhere.
Now, right there, I don't know what he was talking about. I hardly even know what he said in that moment. It just sounded like babble. I'm just being honest. I cannot decipher that statement.
But essentially, he just teaches victimhood. Racism, white supremacy, let's cry for reparations of which we are not owed anything. And there was never, there's never any quote unquote benefit for any mistreatment of black people or black people be treated as second-class citizens or being enslaved. Because if that's the case, everybody on this planet would get reparations from somewhere. But his whole message is nothing but victimhood.
Nobody else on this planet, ancestors were enslaved for 250 years. And if they were, I support those people campaigning for reparations against that same government that enslaved them. The hell are you talking about? Now, the internet has been very helpful for a lot of people, and it's been hurtful. Because any idiot can get up here and start babbling. Dude, it's crystal clear. You're not built, you're not designed, you wasn't born to stand up before the people and speak. But YouTube allows anybody to be a speaker. Here's an example. Just sit down. What are you talking about?
This is about being enslaved, because if that's the case, everybody on this planet would get reparations from somewhere. But his whole message is nothing but victimhood to black people.
How many times are he gonna say that? Dude, and notice in this video, he never gets around to explaining exactly the victimhood lessons. What's the curriculum of this victimhood teaching? I'm seriously curious. How on earth do you teach a mass of people? His videos get tens of thousands of views. How do you teach a mass of people to be victim? What in the world are you even talking about? You know what? If somebody was clever enough to successfully teach a massive group of people that they're victims, that's talent. But that's not what he's doing. That's not no con game. What are you talking about? Let's finish.
It's just nothing but victimhood to black people. Now let's look at the black community. Now we know what's wrong with the black community. The biggest problem in the black community is basically victimhood. You know, this black inferiority complex of always crying about white supremacy, even though there's no white supremacy stopping anybody, holding anybody, and most notably holding and stopping them from doing achieving anything.
See, when people say that, I know they hang around white supremacists. That's like the red flag. You know that they hang around a bunch of right-wing white supremacists when they say that.
Black inferiority complex of always crying about white supremacy is basically victimhood. You know, this black inferiority complex of always crying about white supremacy, even though
people, I hardly ever hear black people talking about white supremacy. Not in person. The only place I hear them talking about it is online, for the most part. When I do talk to them in person, they are sure to make it a brief discussion. They don't want to talk about it too long. And when they do, they try to play it safe. Like, oh, I don't call people racist too often. They're usually trying not to call a white person racist. This is one of those myths, stereotypes. These black racists, if you pay attention to them, they spew out a lot of stereotypes that they cannot prove and they cannot provide evidence or proof for. That is a lie. It is not no common narrative for black Americans to talk about white supremacy. That is a lie. You just sitting up mad, jealous, watching Tariq videos, looking at his views. That's what's happening.
You know, this black inferiority complex of always crying about white supremacy, even though there's no white supremacy stopping anybody, holding anybody, and most notably holding and stopping them from doing achieving anything.
And that's the one of those popular white supremacist talking points. That we sit back and talk about how white supremacy holds us back. Does it or does it not? Simple question. It is irrefutable that for hundreds of years, several decades, there was laws in place to economically keep black people thwarted. Now, that's either true or it's not. It started with black codes. Go look up black codes. It transitioned to Jim Crow. After that, it became common law. You see, after you put a law in place for so many decades, you don't need it to officially have it on the books anymore. So then, even though they removed the laws, they can still practice it because they put the culture in place already. They've already put the mentality into the minds of the white population of racism, of a superiority complex, and that's a part of racism. There are several white people who have black friends, but they still have a superiority complex, and they see themselves as intellectually superior to those Negroes that they consider their friends. And if they were to choose whose school to send their kids to, they'd send their kids to the white school. They will shop at the white business. They will walk 3 blocks not to spend money with the black business. They're not even checking for black businesses. You follow? Well, this is bad. This is bad on so many levels. It's hard to believe that there are black people in America like this.
Black inferiority complex of always crying about white supremacy, even though there's no white supremacy stopping anybody, holding anybody.
Okay. So, black codes, Jim Crow, you had the bombing of Black Wall Streets. You have constant, never ending, on a much smaller scale, but it's far more prevalent, of these cases where blacks are denied equal opportunities. We definitely have more than one example, several examples of black businesses being sabotaged. What do you have to say about that? Irrefutably, several black businesses sabotaged, targeted. So you have a group of people economically deprived. There's actually laws on the book says don't sell them houses, don't do this, don't do that. Okay, you can't climb so high. It's even part of the law. No, you can't live there. You can't live there. You have to live here. We're going to pay you less. Pay the white worker more. When it's time to lay people off, we're going to lay you off first. This goes on for decades upon decades. How is that not going to impoverish the descendants of those people? And you're telling me that that same government doesn't owe the descendants of those people nothing? Nobody buying that. That's why ain't nobody rocking with you. It ain't got nothing to do with no victim mentality. You just don't make no sense. All right? And it's in the worst way.
Most notably, holding and stopping them from achieving anything.
And that's another one. I never hear black people talking about the white man holding me down. I'm not lying to you. I've never heard a black person in my life say that. And I come from the era where we didn't have no internet, where you had to use your mouth and talk to people. I never heard no black person say that. Even but you know what I have noticed? The black people who I've talked to who are very well educated on racism, they're very well informed on racism in America and around the world. Those people almost always are hard-working people. They got jobs. Some of them are business owners. Others got degrees. They got jobs. They're living just fine. That don't remove a person's understanding of racism, because most of them, if not all of them, deal with racism on the job. Yeah, we are succeeding despite racism, But that don't mean it's justified for racism to exist there. You think just because we got the opportunity to earn a paycheck with our own labor that racism just don't exist? Oh, we need to just pretend like it don't exist. Yeah, they sabotage our business. Hey, but at least they give us a job. What the hell are you talking about? Dude, you're not for the people talking like this. What group would want someone talking like this?
But yet we want to continue crying about white supremacy all day.
And what do you mean crying about white supremacy? That's another stereotype. How? Give an example. How are people, black people, crying about white supremacy? You're not even making sense. You're not even making logical sense. And that's the name of your channel. That's the killer part. The name of his channel is Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. Stop it.
And this is, like I said, this is black people's number one problem. Victimhood.
Black people's number one problem is victimhood. What does that even mean? You're saying that the majority of the black American population, rather than going to work, rather than getting a job, rather than going to school, you're saying we're sitting at home complaining about the white man and being a victim? Okay, so how are our bills getting paid? How are we eating? Can somebody give me an example? Where in America are the majority of black people complaining about being a victim? And I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about? You can say anything is victim blaming and claiming to be. You can make a legit claim. So because you're not specific, people not rocking with you. You just making blanket statements, stereotypes that we would expect from a racist.
Supremacy all day. And this is, like I said, this is...
Complain about, crying about white supremacy all day. Where? Where? I don't see this. I don't hear this. What in the world are you talking about? Even Tariq don't sit up and just talk about white supremacy on every video. What are you talking about? Stereotypes. That is a key component of racism. To ignore the content of what you're saying and to just label you as something. And if they deal with the content, if they deal with your argument, they will simply label the entire argument as something. Race hustling, lie, whatever. When people do that, it is because they have no argument. They don't want to deal with the content of what you're talking about.
Crying about white supremacy all day. And this is, like I said, this is black people's number one problem. Victimhood. And we have evidence to back this up because, like I said, black people from other countries come here, have no problem, quote unquote, navigating white supremacy, you know.
What? What?
Immigrant groups come here and prosper all the time. So we...
Immigrant groups are not black Americans. And immigrant groups have always received preferential treatment. There's been politicians, if I'm not mistaken, a president who's actually said that. Said that they prefer immigrants because the immigrants are not rebellious. The immigrants are more likely, because of poverty and other things, to accept the racism, to accept being a second fiddle, to accept being second class, to being a mascot at the parties where you're the subject of a racist joke. They're more likely to look away and pretend like they didn't see that they got overlooked for a promotion or for a job. Overlook and pretend that they didn't see that somebody far less qualified kept their job, but you got laid off. I've had several jobs where I've seen far more qualified black workers not getting the positions and the pay they need. We've had studies conducted that proves that racism not only exists, but it's an everyday thing in the form of several things. And one thing that people fail to realize or mention is the school. That study where they found that there are some professors give black students a lower grade for equal paper or a superior work. Dude, that is serious. You don't ignore stuff like that. You don't ignore racism. You don't sit up and try to minimize racism. That's exactly what he's doing. That's what racists do. It helps them to perpetuate it.
Know that America is not no racist nation that's only allowing white people to prosper.
Nobody said that this country doesn't allow black Americans to prosper. Stop putting words in black Americans' mouths. Nobody said that this government doesn't allow us to prosper. Okay, point us towards the video or wherever. Where are you getting that from? This is why I named it Black Racists. Because it feels like I'm dealing with a white racist. But the person is not white. This is a black person. Okay? Help me out.
We know that America is advocating white supremacy, you know.
He said immigrants don't have a problem navigating. Oh, you're not talking about Abner Luema, though, right? I mean, are you even aware of how many immigrants have been the victims of racism in this country? Are you even aware? Probably not. But if you are aware, you're going to conveniently ignore it. And let me tell you something else. Most racism, or at least a lot of it, you don't see. You don't see it because it's behind closed doors. It's taking place in an executive suite and whatnot. Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with seeing all of these police departments jammed packed with white supremacists. Because if the police department is jam-packed with white supremacists, then so are the courts, okay, the lawmakers, the teachers, and everywhere else in every other part of society. They're not only infiltrating the police department. You don't minimize a dynamic like that. Okay, you're functioning like an enemy to black America.
Black people from other countries come here, have no problem, quote unquote, navigating white supremacy, you know. Immigrant groups come here and prosper all the time. So we know that America is not no racist nation that's only allowing white people to prosper.
He said America is not no racist nation. Nobody says that, dude. Nobody calls the land of America racist. There are simply racists in America. You got to get your words right. You got a serious problem getting your words right. Words matter. And I can't help but to lose respect for a grown man or woman who don't understand how important words are. How could you have even been using the English language for this long and don't understand word selection? Not even among the radicals. I never even heard a radical black person say that America is racist. What are you talking about? You are assuming that we're dumb. That's what you're doing. We're not dumb. We know full well that there are several white people out here who are not racist. And that's why black people ain't rocking with you. Because you get the babbling and they can feel that you're talking to them as if they're dumb.
Immigrant groups come here and prosper all the time. So we know that America is not no racist nation.
Was it Lyndon Johnson? One of these presidents, even presidents said, hey, we'd rather have the immigrants because the immigrants are more submissive. They're not as rebellious. You can get away with more with the immigrants because of the poverty over there. Not only the poverty, they had whole different living conditions in those countries. Whereas here in America, Black Americans have always been extremely rebellious. Okay, so he hasn't made a strong point yet.
That's only allowing white people to prosper. Anybody who wants to prosper can come to America.
What is this? Oh, I hate this. Nobody made that argument. Nobody. There's no black so-called radical nowhere who has ever said that no black person can prosper in America. What the hell are you talking about? They always make straw man arguments. And that's a sign of cowardice. You're afraid to deal with what exactly we're talking about. That's what it is. Dude, that's not our argument. I don't know whose argument you're dealing with. I don't know who you're talking about. We know full well we can make money in America. That don't mean racism don't exist. I don't even see how you're confusing the two. You think just because you can make some money somewhere, oh, all of a sudden racism don't exist? Okay, if racism don't exist, why is it that all of the presidents, all of the Senate, House, all of the politicians, when you look at them, what percentage is black? On top of that, how many of the laws and policies and agendas benefit blacks? I saw you did a video on the Buffalo shooting. Explain why there are anti-Asian hate crime bills, but no anti-Black American hate crime bills. Despite all the things that have happened with Black Americans, how we've been targeted. Can you imagine if somebody walked into an all Asian grocery store and started blowing Asian people's brains out right there on video? You think they'd fail even after that? You think they would fail to create an anti-Asian hate crime? Are you kidding? They create multiple. Haven't created one yet for Black America. But we both ignore that, right?
Only allowing white people to prosper. Anybody who wants to prosper can come to America.
And it's not about whether prospering or what. It's easier. On average, success is easier when you're white. And that's not blaming anyone. That simply makes some Black Americans want their own land, their own state, where race, you know for a fact, race is not an issue. It's not a factor in anything, whether it be loans, fines, whatever, police interactions, whatever. But from what it sounds like he's talking as if he believes black people have a genetic flaw.
That's only allowing white people to prosper. Anybody who wants to prosper can come to America. And this is the biggest problem facing black people. Again, that damn victimhood. Now, if Tariq Nasheed promotes victimhood, and the biggest problem facing black people in America is victimhood.
No, it's not. What is you talking about? This dude don't even sound like he grew up around black people. He said the biggest problem with black America is victimhood. The hell? What you talking about, dude? I ain't never sat up in no room full of black people and they talking about victimhood. The hell, what do a victimhood conversation even sound like? You are so unarticulate. Let's continue.
Then how in the world is he helping black people by perpetuating the biggest problem facing black people in America? Well, the obvious answer to that question is he's not. So anybody who say that he's helping black people is just simply either another black person out there who's making his money race hustling, or a black person who's been brainwashed to believe that race hustling is a problem for black people in America. Nobody.
Whoa. What did you say? I gotta hear that. I don't even know what he said.
He's not. So anybody who say that he's helping black people is just simply either another black person out there who's making his money race hustling, or a black person
another black person out there making his money race hustling. That's the type of person who would agree with Tariq Nasheed. So why is it so-called other race hustlers out there who don't like Tariq Nasheed? Why? I would think they view Tariq as competition. But okay, if that's what you... Okay, this is your video, not mine.
Or a black person who's been brainwashed to believe that race hustling is a problem for black people in America.
What did he say?
For black people in America.
Whoa.
Problem for black people in America. A black person who's been brainwashed to believe that
a black person who's been brainwashed to believe
race hustling is a problem for black.
Whoa. What?
A black person who's been brainwashed to believe that race hustling is a problem for black people in America.
That race hustling is a problem. What? You can't even speak clearly. Damn. Dude, turn your camera off, turn that mic off, and shut up. If you can't even speak clearly, dude, stop talking. The hell are you talking about?
Race hustling, or a black person who's been brainwashed to believe that race hustling is a problem for black people in America.
I'm not exaggerating, people. What the hell did he just say? What?
Another black person out there who's making his money race hustling, or a black person who's been brainwashed to believe that race hustling is a problem for black people in America.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I would have refused to upload this video just because of that part of the video right there. And if I did upload it, I would have edited that part out. But let's continue.
Nobody in their right mind that actually sits back and analyze a situation would say that he's helping the black community. He's harming the black community. If you really...
Whoa, what?
Truly as a situation, nobody in their right mind that actually sits back and analyze a situation would say that he's helping the black community. He's harming.
Oh my God. Tariq is not a leader. He is not our leader. I need people like you to get that through your thick skulls. We're not stupid, and Tariq is not our leader. What he is a man with a large platform. He produced content that we appreciate because you're not a part of our circles. And that's why you don't understand and you can't appreciate anything that he's done. Because you're not a part of our circle. You were not a part of our circle before Hidden Colors. See, before Hidden Colors, we would have a bunch of different books in circulation. There was a lot of lectures going on where we would crack open books, crack open the PowerPoint, have presentations, and teach people like that. Because with black people, and it's not just with black people. I think most people are like this. It's easier for them to learn something when they have someone in person standing there teaching it. And it's a lot more difficult for them to absorb and comprehend information if they're reading it out of a book. So he was a part of those circles, and all he did was make a documentary based on the books that had been in circulation among the grassroots. How is that harming the black community? He deal with scholars that we hold dear. Chancellor Williams, Francis Cress Welsing. That was the first book I ever bought. Was the ISIS Papers. Dr. Amos Wilson. My mother and my uncle forced me to study all of Dr. Amos Wilson's work. It took me around 2 years. I listened to every lecture, read the books. Scholars we hold dear, Dr. John Henrik Clarke. He has based a museum around these people that we appreciate. How you gonna sit and tell us this is not helping the black and this is actually harming the black community? A museum? Historical documentaries? No, it sounds like you are the enemy who is toxic to the black community and people like you, because you put out this idea that black people have some type of genetic flaw, like we're just naturally genetically dumb. Let's continue.
Harming the black community. If he really truly was wanting to help the black community, then if the biggest problem in the black community is victimhood, then he will be trying to weed that victimhood.
Biggest problem in the black community is victimhood. That's why I know you married to a white woman, dude. Where is she? That's how white people talk, dude. Let me clarify that. That's how racist white people talk. Racist. Dude, I can find white people who will put you in check right now, who will educate you right now. And it's not about being on the black side. It's just about using common sense, logic, and reason. Oh, the irony.
Without not perpetuated. So it's so sad that so many black people, they big up and praise the people who cause them harm.
So he's saying Tariq causes us harm by making documentaries about black history that's not taught in the mainstream textbooks. So basically, anytime somebody do anything positive for black people, you got a problem with that. That sounds like a racist. Anytime black people are uplifting themselves, you hate it. That sounds like a racist. Anytime black people are feeling a genuine sense of pride, you hate it. You'd rather black people believe that they are victims because of their own messed up brains. That's what you're sitting here trying to argue. That the reason we all jacked up is because our brains, we're just black. It's because we black. And black people just got genetic flaws. That's what you're suggesting with this rhetoric, dude. That's why I said everybody is not meant to get on camera and be no leader. This is not your lane, dude. Do something else. You're failing miserably at this. Listen, man. Black people can tell if you're built to speak for the people. They can feel it. And they ain't feeling you. Dude, your views are pathetic. And I don't say that. I never put people's platform down. Not if they out there actually trying to create content for the people, but you out here trying to attack the people with this rhetoric. Let's continue.
Continue to vote for these Democrats, but then they demonize the people who are trying to help them. You know, they called Larry Elders a coon all the time. Candace Owens, she's this bad wench, which means absolutely nothing. And in modern day age, which people are sleeping around like this on tomorrow, shit, wenches are everywhere. But it makes absolutely no sense that, you know, these black folks, you're going to keep dig up and celebrating and praising the people causing you harm.
See, that's his true problem. He hate to see Tariq get support. And that's the root of this. And that's why I have a problem with this. Because I know that if I'm ever successful, I'm going to have this same crowd of toxic Negroes trying their best to destroy me. That's your real problem. You see all the support that he get and you get jealous. Because not only does he get a whole lot more support than you, I suspect he gets more compliments from the ladies than you. I suspect the ladies would look at him if both you and him were in a vehicle together. They probably look past you to get a good look at him. Am I right? This envy has to come from somewhere, bro. And looking at you, it raises some questions. Why are you really hating? This is pure hate, dude.
Praising the people causing you harm.
You hate that people support them. And there are enough people who are not black who do this. There are far too many. What am I talking about? Enough. There are too many people who are not black who do this, who hate to see black men successful, who hate to see black men get support. You are the one causing more harm. You're the one that's harmful to black people, not Tariq. The type of rhetoric that you're spewing right now is new to the ears of a lot of black people in the hood. They've heard everything that Tariq says. He'll say he'll drop nigga every now and then. He'll use profanity every now and then. That ain't nothing new to somebody in the hood. But you know what? Many of the people in the hood are more receptive to the message because he uses those words. He speaks the language of the most downtrodden, underprivileged, uneducated. He has the ability to grab the attention of the roughest thugs in any hood in America, and you can't. They not listening to nobody like you. You ain't built like that. Accept it. I'm not built like that. I mean, I'm not a public figure. I'm not on the mainstream platform. I'm not in front of the people like Tariq Nasheed with a huge platform like that. But I can tell that I know more than you, and I'm better suited to talk to black people than you are. The only thing you do is make them feel like they got some type of genetic defect.
And celebrating and praising the people causing you harm, believing that they're helping you, and then you're going to demonize the people trying to help you, that's trying to help you. And this is why the black community is in the shape it is. However, in no way, shape, or form can anybody say that Tariq Nasheed is helping the black people. Now,
right there, that lets you know this is just a hater. You mean to tell me you cannot think of one positive thing that Tariq has offered black people? Really? Even if you're not a fan of Tariq. And listen, with Tariq's broadcasts, and sometimes I won't even watch the whole thing. Sometimes, every now and then, he'll get a little too ratchet for me, and I'll have to find something else to watch. But I'm not going to. I understand. No matter where he goes with it, I get it. I understand, because I'm from the same community he's from. It doesn't sound like you're from that community. And if you were beaten up, you were teased, you were made fun of, you didn't get no girls, and that's why you old and bitter right now, and you hating another black man around your same age range who's being listened to, who has some influence. That's your real problem. Your real problem is insecurity, dude.
In no way, shape, or form.
No way, shape, or form? Like, why would you even fix your mouth to say something like that? When people hear that, they're like, okay, that's unreasonable. Even people who are critical of Tariq, I'm critical of Tariq. Even those people will say, oh, cut it out, dude. Now it's time to mute you because we know where you're coming from. It's just pure hate and envy. I mean, I've disagreed with a lot of public figures. Martin Luther King. I've disagreed with Larry Elder. I've disagreed with a lot of public figures. I will never say that in no way, shape, or form have they ever helped black people. What type of foolish statement is that? That is foolishly false, dude. Everybody has a positive impact on other people. At some point in your life, you're going to have a positive impact on other people. The question here is, since you're making the challenge, have you had a positive impact on more people than Tariq? And was your impact as impactful? The answer is no and no. And that's the root of your jealousy.
Form. Can anybody say that Tariq Nasheed is helping the black people, not putting on these galas and expos?
Putting on these galas and expos. I want to touch on that too, because I heard a lot of people, these immigrants, who say, oh, that's a club. That's not a museum. That's a club. Have y'all ever researched museums? People hold events at museums all the time. How do you think they advertise the museum? How do you think they popularize the museum? They hold events there. Plays, shows, speakers. That's what you do with a museum, fool. No wonder Tariq has not been responding to you idiots. Do your research. Look it up right now. Stop talking. Turn your TV off. Turn your mic off, your webcam. Go to Google and look it up. Just Google events at museum. And you will see that museums all over the world hold all kinds of events. And many of them hold events more frequently than Tariq has been. They will have something going on every flipping weekend. Ain't nobody sitting back calling them a club or a hustler. And this is what I don't like about this. Other races of people open museums and do the same thing Tariq doing. Create documentaries, do the same thing. They don't deal with their own people calling them no race hustler. With their own people trying to bring them down. Especially when they're doing something as impactful as he is. So that makes you, buddy, the true enemy of black people. And primarily you the enemy of black men. Oh, let's talk about it. You primarily an enemy to black men. And what you are doing here is giving an example to other black men of what we're going to have to deal with if we ever become successful. Let's continue.
Blowing smoke up black people's asses, telling them that they're bigger than they are. And then the people...
Dude, let's get this straight too. Can't nobody just tell us that we're victims. You talking as if anybody can tell us anything and we'll just believe it. As if we're dumb. It really pisses me off, man. These people who think that intelligent people don't come from the hood. You know how the most brilliant minds in Black American history came from the hood. And I'm not talking about Booker T. Washington. Some of the most brilliant minds in Black history came from the gutter of the black community. But yet we still got people like this who project this idea that everybody in the hood is dumb. You can tell them anything, they'll just believe it. Ain't nobody under no Tariq Nasheed spell. Now, I'm sure you got a few fanatics. The vast majority of black people who listen to Tariq, they're not stupid. They know full well Tariq will make statements that's not true sometimes. Tariq has even talked about how people have reached out, got in contact with him and told him to stop using the word nigger so often. And Tariq said, hey, y'all just put on your big pants and pop your collar to the message. That was Tariq's way of saying, look, I'm not perfect. I'm from the hood just like all the other brothers in the hood. But I made it out and I still got some of that hood on me. I'm not perfect. But I'm giving you a positive message. Just take the message. You can share the message in whatever way you like. If you can present the message in a better way, knock yourself out. Be as articulate as you want. But if y'all not picking up the mantle, then shut up. Now, I see you on your channel. You trying to be a public figure. Ain't nobody rocking with you because you talking like an enemy to the people. You cannot connect with the people, so shut up.
We're going to be at these expos. These are going to be well-to-do black folks who's already doing well for themselves. You're not going to find the ghetto ratchets, the blacks in the hood killing and shooting each other. They won't be at these tuxedo fairs.
So what? So what? They won't be listening to your videos either. The thugs that's out shooting and selling drugs, they probably not listening to you either, dude. They're more likely to be listening to him than listening to you. They're more likely to go to that museum than they are to sit down and listen to one of your flipping videos. While you talking.
So is it really helping the black community? I just don't see it. Somebody's going to explain to me.
There you go. Dude, that's where you lose all your credibility. That's why your fucking views are so low. You're unrealistic. One thing you got to do, always, give people credit where they deserve it. You're not going to build no following, being no one-sided, tunnel-visioned hater. Trust me, you'd be a lot more convincing if you gave the man credit where credit is due. What are you doing? Where's your book? Is your book a bestseller? I seriously doubt you can even write a book. Are you even capable of writing a book? Tariq did. Where's your documentaries? Since he makes fake documentaries, share with us your documentaries. If it's not a documentary, share something. All you got to offer is your little janky videos, your little 8-minute videos, got about 2-3 views. Where's your material? I'm on the home page of your channel. Let's go to the home page. You don't have no links to nowhere. So you ain't even got no other platform. The hell is this? You ain't got no Twitter, you ain't got nothing. You just on here babbling. No book, no movies, no documentary, just a goddamn bomb. Running your mouth hating. You hate to see a young, successful black man. That's the true enemy. You're supposed to be supporting young, successful black men, young or old. The hell? Sitting up just being a little devil. That's what you being. Now listen to this.
Exactly how Tariq Nasheed is helping the black community by putting on that expo in Dallas. And like I said, just this.
That's hilarious. Dude, how are you going to bash an expo where he's inviting black business owners who set up their vendor and help popularize their business? Do you know how many additional phone calls and how people's businesses took off after these expos? They're getting their names out there. And Tariq is using his platform to help other black business owners grow. That way they can do what? Hire family members, hire people from the community. But you've managed to ridicule that. And you think you're the leader of logic and comedy? Get the hell out of here, man. Now, thank goodness you almost done. Let's listen to this.
So this whole notion of empowerment, if you have to be empowered in the United States of America, the problem is with you.
What? He said if you have to be empowered in the United States of America, then the problem is with you. Yeah, black people, we have our problems. But guess what? All groups have their problems. All groups got problems. All groups got their gutter population. With white people, they call them white trash. Dirty Bubba, step out of trailer park, he got dirt all in his face, got a couple dogs hanging out now. He got 3 teeth in his mouth, can't read, just chewing tobacco, spitting. A degenerate, probably a redneck racist, probably harassed all kinds of neighbors and whatnot. But yet, those so-called white trash are not projected as the face of white America. But you, on your channel, sit up here and you make thugs and criminals the face of black America. That is the behavior of a racist white supremacist. I suspect you got a white woman somewhere. And that's where this is coming from. If not, then something happened to you. Something terrible happened to you, brother. Listen to what he says here.
No doubt about that. But clearly, he's not helping nobody, the black people, especially.
Like, wow. Even if you disagree with some of the things Tariq says, you're completely unreasonable to make a statement like that. Yeah, way to tell on yourself, dude. It's almost like he tried to conceal the fact that he's being a hater. He tried not to come off like a flat out hater, but failed. You just failed. Your hater shines through, dude.
Not helping nobody.
Not helping nobody? What? Dude, you know what? I gave you an honest statement here. We can't even imagine. We can't even quantify the extent to which Tariq has had a positive impact on black people. Before the Hidden Colors series, since you want to talk about this, we really never had a grassroots historical documentary like that. That was rather unprecedented. And what made it such a success was the fact that so many of the people in the hood were receptive to it. Dude, that is heroic work. Anytime you can speak in a way where the thugs will listen, the crackheads will listen, the lowest parts of black America is receptive to his message. And if they're getting the knowledge out of the message, because everything else, that's not new to them. Dropping the N-bomb and profanity, that's not new. They're not impressed with that. But they are blown away by the knowledge, the information, the history. In a scenario like that, Tariq has done good work. See, with his verbiage, him saying nigga time to time and using profanity from time to time, that might just be what gets the attention of the lowest among black America. And then what? You lift them up. You get their attention and lift them up from that gutter level. That is good work. It is bad work when you spit on work like that, like what you're doing. When you insult and degrade that type of accomplishment. I don't know if you think it makes you look better or more appealing. It does not.
Black people, especially if he talks about how the white devils are, that you buy a home surrounded by the white devils.
Now, this is where he slit his own throat with that statement right there. Tariq Nasheed, I have never heard him refer to white people as devils. Let me back this up.
He's most about how, he's not helping nobody, the black people, especially if he talks about how the white devils are.
Maybe I just haven't heard the video. If you've heard the video, please share the link in the chat room or the description box of this video. I've never heard Tariq refer to white people as devils. What are you talking about? See, when you throw in little lies like that, that's when I know this is nothing but pure hate. And it's not even well thought out hatred. It don't take much energy to hate. It takes a lot more energy and intelligence, thinking to support. And that's why you show absolutely no support. You don't commend him on anything. Your take on him is 100% negative. So you're telling on yourself. Amazing.
The black people, especially if he talks about how the white devils are.
You're not going to get away with that. I want you in the comment section, right here. I'm about to ask you right now live. Tell me the video where Tariq calls white people devils. No, you're going to have to answer for that, buddy. Because if I find that you just outright lied on the stands, you know what happened if you in the court and you do that? You found a lie. They're going to dismiss your whole testimony. The judge is going to instruct the jury to wipe your whole testimony off the record. I ain't never heard Tariq refer to white people as devil. Man, what the hell are you talking about? Tariq got a white dude as a partner in his music group, Mink Slide. What are you talking about? He's dealt and still deal with many white people. What the hell are you talking about? Your goal was simply to demonize him. And you're demonizing him because he's a black male. You wouldn't do this to no white man who made a historical documentary on black history. If any white man or any white group creates and they have, what am I talking about? You can go to History Channel and different places and you can find little black historical documentaries. They don't give you the raw information, but they skim the surface well enough. Why aren't you ridiculing them for gassing people up, black people, and telling them they're victims? No, it's only when you see a black man as the director, a black man name on the front. That's when that envy, that's when that jealousy starts kicking in. And that's when you start lying. See, that's a telltale sign of an envious person. Jealous people will lie on the people that they're jealous of. It's very pathetic. Now, look, if y'all know the video where Tariq referred to white people as devils and he's talking about, oh, the white man is the devil, he basically calling him a disciple of Elijah Muhammad. Yeah, point me towards that video. I never heard it.
Black people, especially if he talks about how the white devils are, that you buy a home surrounded by the white devils.
And if he wanted to live in a nice community and have a nice big house, most likely he's going to have to live around white people. That ain't no strike against his credibility. What are you talking about? If there was a safe, uppity black neighborhood where he lives, I'm sure he'd live there. And from what I understand, there are some black people who live out there. So what are you saying? Tariq should live in the hood right now? That's your logic? That's your logic and common sense, right? Even though he's a millionaire, he should live around all black people? The hell are you talking about, man?
He's most certainly not helping black people, so that's BS. I disagree with that. Now, if anybody disagrees with me on that, please give me your example of why you believe that Tariq Nasheed is helping the black community, because he is most certainly...
Okay, I already have. And the bottom line is, there are a lot of people who help the black community. More people than I can name. Most of them, they don't have a YouTube channel. Many of them do. They might participate. They might leave comments in the comment section. Speaking of comments in the comment section, there are a lot of people who only leave comments in the comment section. And those people are helping the black community. I don't care what they do in the privacy of their own home. If they come online and they leave insightful, educational posts that are going to be available online for years, they are contributing to helping the black community. For you to sit there and say that he has done nothing and does nothing reveals your unreasonable, illogical envy. 100%. Now let's get back to this horrible channel of yours. I have never, as long as I've been on YouTube, I've never bashed the views that someone else gets. I've never done it. But you are so disrespectful that I decided to do it with you because it's relevant. Because I suspect that the reason why you talk about people like Tariq is so you can get more views. Now, longtime followers of me know that that's not how I roll. I've made whole channels where I don't talk about nobody. I don't need to do that. But that's what you do. I also saw another video that you made that was very revealing, in my opinion, where you said integration did not hurt the black community. And you say that black people's biggest problem is our victim mentality. Basically, what you do is sit up here and suggest that black people's problem is our own aberration in our brain. That we're just genetically flawed. That the victim mentality is dumb. You actually say something like that, don't you? I believe it's this video.
No, the problem with the black community was not integration. Integration didn't hurt the black community. It was the Great Society and the ghetto mentality
So the welfare system and the ghetto mentality. Another way of saying black people just dumb. That people can just come up here and just give us a ghetto mentality, huh? That is why after 2 months, this video only got 1 like and 1 comment. Okay, let's let him finish.
Developed because of the Great Society policies. And that same ghetto mentality is just so present among black people today.
Okay, he's one of those dudes too who say that black women destroyed the black community. Now I'm gonna have to deal with that in a whole different video. Okay, because what actually happened was the black family was not destroyed by the black woman. It was destroyed by the government. The government. They may have used black women to sort of prop them up and use them against black males. But again, that suggests that we're just dumb, that you can just come say anything to us and we just believe it. That's not how it went. Our living conditions was manipulated. It wasn't just deindustrialization, where jobs were sent to the suburbs and sent overseas, where black people were being unemployed left and right, and it was hard to find work. So the mothers had to, or they were incentivized to get on welfare. Like, hey, my man lost his job, and we could use those food stamps. But the thing is, after getting those food stamps, you can't prove that the man is no longer in his children's lives. I made several videos about this many years ago. Those videos have tens of thousands of views right now. I was one of the first people to put Black Lives Matter on blast. These statistics talking about the single black motherhood and black women and all these kids being brought up in single mother homes, much of those stats are exaggerated, dude. I cannot count how many black men I've known who were well into their kids' lives, but whose names were not on the lease. They may have been over their baby mama's house every day, sleeping over there all the time, basically living there, but their name was not on the lease. And the name was not on lease so that she could get those food stamps and they could sort of have two incomes. I can't count how many black couples I've seen in that situation. But because their name's not on the lease, you can have these public figures get up and say, oh, look at this single motherhood in the black community. Oh, look at how horrible these black men are. It was orchestrated. But I'm sure you have nothing to say about that.
And that right there is the number one problem facing black people in America today is the ghetto mentality. And the mentality that basically a mentality that destroys, a mentality that won't build or produce anything. And we can look in the hoods, in the urban cities, and we see the repercussions of the Great Society and that mentality. So integration.
The hell? Look, Great Society programs did do damage to the black community. The liberals, the welfare system, of course it did damage. But that wasn't the only issue. Integration did hurt black America because we relinquished control over our culture. Don't you understand that? No, you don't understand that. Because like I said, your heart and mind is not with the people. We relinquished a great degree of influence over ourselves, over the black community, relinquished it and gave it to white society. That's what happened. So now, instead of sitting in a classroom in front of black teachers surrounded with black students, now you got a white teacher who really don't like to look at your black face, who's really going to half step when it comes to teaching you lessons. Look at some of those videos back during the 60s. There were white teachers who were saying, I don't want to teach these nigglets. I don't want these little Negro kids in my classroom. I don't want them. Integration. Now, we relinquished control over our image. We left everything in the hands of another people. And then what do? They encourage our musical artists to incorporate degenerative, self-destructive lyrics. Bringing these people from poverty, from the ghettos, knowing that if you put millions of dollars before them, they will say whatever. I'll say whatever you want me to say. So of course they're going to rap about killing and shooting, but you're not going to acknowledge their role in destroying the black community, because your job is to defend the white racists. And I'm being very specific. You defending the white racists, because there are white people out here who talk about how the music industry use these black artists to help degrade and cause the black community to become more degenerate, to be a negative influence on the youth. I mean, we have non-black people who've acknowledged this. So what is your problem? That's not a factor. But see, you sit back and point your finger at the black artists and say, you rap about them lyrics because you just got a nigga mentality. You just got victim mentality. You do not connect with the experience of black Americans. That's why black Americans don't rock with you. If you cannot relate to what black people been through, even black people who don't know history, they're going to disconnect from you, dude. Because they can just feel your energy ain't right.
And that mentality. So integration wasn't the problem. It never was the problem. The problem was the bad mentalities that we developed out of the Great Society that was fostered in single-parent homes that started to grow when women had an escape clause for a promiscuous lifestyle in which shame was eroded because of third wave.
You heard what he said. He's basically saying what destroyed the black community was the welfare policies and the feminist movement, where they came in and convinced black women, say, hey, black women, you can sleep around, sleep whatever you want. You can be as much of a whore as you want. Don't be ashamed. And that once the shame was removed, then black women went and buck wild. So basically saying that black women is super dumb and extra dumb, right? They just as dumb as a dumb animal. And you can just go in and do whatever. No, dude. I admit the feminist movement and the Great Society programs had a negative impact on the black community. That's irrefutable. That's irrefutable. But the way you talk with this, our biggest problem is the ghetto mentality that was fostered because black women are just jacked up in the head. No. Black women, being single mothers, they were putting their kids in front of the TV. Isn't that right? The black mothers was not the only influence over black kids. It was also the television. Now, what was on the television? And who controlled what was on the television? How influential is the television? How influential has it been in America? The television. American culture is basically cultivated through the television, through media and entertainment. Pretty much every character and personality you run into in the real world was largely cultivated through TV. Listen to some of the things that people say. Much of it comes from a TV show somewhere. Something they saw on the internet. The TV was extremely influential, dude. And it is because we were not in control of what was on TV that we could not prevent a negative, destructive culture from conditioning the black population. Now, let's talk about the character of the people who orchestrated a negative, degenerate culture to be pushed on the black America. Just like you can find some thugs off the corner to rap about shooting and killing, offer them millions of dollars, say, hey, rap about killing your neighbors. You can find a white male pedophile who'll sing a song about getting it on with kids. It doesn't mean that it's a smart idea to give that person a record deal. Could you imagine a record company telling a group of white pedos that they have to sing and rap about being married to a child? Could you imagine a rapist being offered a record deal and told to sing about raping women? Well, how different is it to instruct the black artists to rap about killing, selling drugs, call the women bitches, call your black neighbors niggas, glorify the idea of gunning them down, of holding hostility towards them? That is actually what happened with the black community. Now, do you think the people who orchestrated that own those music companies? Do you think those execs were working in the best interest of black America? So if you can't see the need for reparations, if you can't see the need for our own land, you're blind. If you can't see how outside influences played a heavy role in the deterioration of the black community, you're blind.
In which shame was eroded because of third wave feminism. And this is where the problem, again, it all falls back to the same thing, the Great Society. Anyway, if you ever hear any black person say that integration hurt black people, it's all up for interpretation. You have to just look at the data and you have to come up with your own mind. Me, I say integration is being unfairly blamed.
Dude, this sounds like a dude with a white wife. I don't know why these dudes who swirl feel the need to be a black leader. Just let it go, dude. It's not for you. This is not a role for you. And that's clearly the issue here. My man, I can't look at it no other way. You really want to hear something that's confusing? Just to give you one last example of what I'm talking about here. 5 years ago or so, he uploaded this video. I was listening to it shortly before I went live. Okay? And I'm about to let y'all listen to it right now. And you tell me what's going on here. Oh, God. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. The hate is real. So 5 years ago.
Any example proof?
5 years ago, he was spazzing out, going off about race hustler rhetoric. That's the name of this video. So you've been mad for a while. You've been jealous for a while. I'm telling you, this is largely jealousy. I've been around dudes like this. Dudes that are not articulate. They're not fly. They don't captivate an audience. They cannot keep an audience. Can't build an audience. They're not a ladies' man. The girls are not checking for them. And it just creates insecurity in some of these dudes. And all they can do is sit back and hate on others and try to destroy others. They hate to see other black men getting support from the masses. We got to get that toxic mentality out of here, man. These types of people got to go. You're not helping black America with this type of nonsense. You know what you could do that would benefit black America? Talk about the positive impact people like Tariq have, and only focus on that. Black people will fill in the blanks. You can simply focus on the positive messages that Tariq puts out and leave everything else alone. And people will give you credit. Say, hey, I like that you support the positives, but you do it in your own way. You don't have integrity like that. That's the true sign of a man. That's the true sign of a person with common sense, logic, and reason. It's easier, a lot easier, to say common sense, logic, and reason than it is to actually demonstrate it. Now listen to this.
Back to give us any example or proof of what they're being held back from doing and achieving.
Whoa. You already know this is juicy. Listen to this.
New Year, and I hope everyone's holiday was fine. We were all blessed to be here to see another, and I will wish many holidays on everyone.
You lie. Don't front like you're a good, loving person. You ain't got to do all that. Yeah, you like black people. You love black people as long as we broke and unsuccessful. As soon as we become successful, you're going to start accusing us of being a hustler, huh? Why is it that every black man, and the killer part about it is, we know how Tariq made his money. And you still trying to demonize him. We got enough people demonizing black men. Shut your stupid mouth. Now listen to this.
Now back to business. In my video, $1 Million Question to Black People, I asked blacks, or anyone for that matter, that believe that America is a racist society and they were being held back, to give us any example or proof.
They're being held back. You see, this is what I'm talking about. He automatically accused black Americans of complaining that America holds us back. Ain't nobody saying that. Ain't nobody making no argument like that. Where are you getting that from? I only hear that from racists. That's the only crowd I hear that from. I've never heard a black person say that. Complaining about, the white man holding me back. Racism. I can't get a job because of racism. The only person who might talk like that is a damn crackhead. And you ain't about to make no crackhead the face of black America. Get out of here, man.
I wish many holidays on everyone. Now back to business. In my video, $1 Million Question to Black People, I asked blacks, or anyone for that matter, that believe that America is a racist society and they were being held back, to give us any example.
Again, black people are not dumb. Black people are not dumb. I've never heard a black person say America is a racist society. Don't no black person go around saying that. Almost every black American in this country knows full well that not all white people are racist. And they're not going around saying America's racist. Man, shut up. You getting that from your little racist white girlfriend. No, I reject that. This is the foundation you need to be a hater of somebody like Tariq. So this doesn't surprise me. This was 5 years ago.
Racist society, and they were being held back, to give us...
See, there you go with that held back thing. I don't hear black people saying that. This country is racist. They hold me back. Shut up. I hate liars. I cannot do the lying. We don't do that.
Any example or proof of what they're being held back from doing and achieving.
Nobody said we held back from doing nothing or achieving nothing. That does not remove the fact that racism is a daily thing in America, that racism for several decades was built into the law. Once you build and put racism into the law, and that law lasts decade after decade, multiple decades, hell, about 100 years, you have impacted an entire people. Because those black people who could have been in control of a prosperous business, they could have given jobs to other black people. They could have helped other black people out. Black code laws, Jim Crow laws had a negative impact on the black American economy for every single black person in this country. It had a negative impact on all of us. And that's not rocket science. I'm scratching my head wondering why you can't understand that. It impacted everybody. Just like white people, being the slave masters, benefited all white Americans. It benefited all white. Y'all like to talk about how not all white people were slave owners, right? Y'all love to brag about that. All you black conservatives and white supremacists. You love to talk about how, oh, all black people were not enslaved. Yeah, I know that. But the black people who were enslaved, building wealth, they could have built that wealth for themselves and given us a job. All them empires that those slaves built and put together, it was supposed to have been passed down to their descendants. Instead, the white master passed them down to his descendants. And it branched off to other empires not owned by black people, other business chains not owned by black people. You're not going to sit here and try to argue that slavery did not have a negative impact on black people's financial status, did not play a role in the current wealth gap. What are you talking about? Okay, well, let's finish.
And in that video, I also said that I didn't want to hear a whole bunch of race hustle rhetoric. Well, today that's what we're going to discuss. Now, race hustle rhetoric is basically a series of points used by blacks as a means to either show that America is a racist country with a racist society, or to excuse the lack thereof from blacks. You know, anytime blacks don't do or achieve anything, well, they use race hustle rhetoric as excuse why.
Give me an example. I've never heard black people talk like this, where they tried to achieve something and couldn't. So they said it was because of racism. And what are you even talking about? This don't even make sense.
Is basically a series of points.
A series of points? Okay? Now, when you make a point, it's either true or it's not true. If they make a series of points that are true, then what are you complaining about?
Used by blacks as a means to either show that America is a racist country.
Show that America is a racist country? Dude, the FBI has come out and told us that the police department is flooded with racists. So we at least know that the police departments around the United States is flooded, heavily infiltrated with bona fide white supremacists. That's not a theory. That's not a theory, dude. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not race hustler rhetoric. I guess it is race hustler rhetoric if it come from a black person, huh? So, do you believe that, seeing that it came from white people? White people said this. You know, those white people who are not racist? They came out. They did the research. Came out and said, hey, the police departments around the country is flooded with white supremacists. I told you about that guy who went undercover. And he helped to stop a killing of a black man, where this black man was about to be unjustly killed. Can you imagine how many times this has actually happened? We will never know. But we would be assured that it doesn't happen if there were no racists in the police department. So what are you talking about? We're not imagining things. We're not seeing something that's not there. Because if the police departments all around the country is flooded with white supremacists, then those white supremacists have to flood every other organization as well.
Racist rhetoric is basically a series of points used by blacks as a means to either show that America is a racist country with a racist society, or to excuse the lack thereof from blacks. You know, anytime blacks don't do or achieve anything, or they use racist rhetoric as excuse why. Now, what's the origin of racist rhetoric? Well, it comes from the race hustle. That's why I call it race hustle rhetoric. And how it starts is that somebody somewhere makes some type of race point, and with black people, anything involving race spreads like wildfire. Well, they bring forth their race point, and it spreads among blacks. It spreads like any rumor does. And
He called it a rumor. He didn't even specify what it is. He didn't even give an example. He just said a race point that spreads. That's race. What the hell are you talking about, man? Is it a true point? Is it a reasonable point? Is it understandable? Is it true, or is it a fact or not? What if it is? He don't even specify. He obviously don't even care if it's true or not. So let's say one of these points that he's talking about, let me give an example since he don't know how. Let's say one of these points that spread like wildfire is that the police departments across the country are flooded with white supremacists. That sounds exactly like one of the so-called points that he's talking about. Now, is that true or not? It's true. Is that beneficial to always be mindful? Yes, it is. You better believe it's beneficial to not only be aware of it, but to always be mindful of it. That the police department has been heavily infiltrated by white supremacists. That way you know how to move and function and how to act and how to behave. How on earth is it a negative thing to be aware of your surroundings like that? You sound like a person who would get yourself killed or other people. You sound like that guy who went out on a hunting trip in the woods, the deep woods somewhere, and got killed. Oh, racism don't exist. Yeah, I'll go hunting with you. It benefits nobody to pretend that racism don't exist, dude. And it's not that big a deal. Y'all act like y'all got some type of phobia about recognizing that racists not only exist in this country, but have a very massive population and have a very massive influence. They have a lot of power. Take slavery, take the Jim Crow era, for example. During slavery and during the Jim Crow era, there were white people in this country who were not racist. There have always been white Americans who were not racist, but they had to submit to the racist whites just like everybody else. Several times, whites were punished for being nigger lovers. Those whites who were not racist, they didn't have as much power and influence. We always knew that they existed, and we always made a distinction between the two. We're not dumb. People like you imply that black people are brainless apes who can't think for themselves. And that's why people are not rocking with you.
With their race point, and it spreads among blacks, it spreads like any rumor does, and it gets spoken and spoken. And then somebody else comes along with another race point that also spreads.
A race point. A race point that spreads. Okay.
And it gets spoken and spoken and spoken.
A race point that spreads and gets spoken and spoken. Okay.
And inevitably, what you end up with is you have a layer of race hustle rhetoric that just gets spoken and spoken so much that it becomes rhetorical. And in most cases, the people who are speaking it couldn't even tell you where it came from, or they can't even defend it. But
you see what I mean? You know what his real problem is? He assumes that black people are just as ignorant and dumb as he is. He can't help but to assume that black people are extremely dumb if he himself is extremely dumb and unenlightened. I'm sorry, man. I do not get the impression that your brain functions properly. You're dealing with some serious insecurities here, buddy. And it's messing up your brain. You find an escape. You find pleasure out of joining along with racists and racist rhetoric against black people. Co-signing with stereotypes and flat out lies. That's not impressive, my man. And that's why you got this struggle channel up here.
they speak it and speak it and speak it. Now, there is some inherent truth to the rhetoric. It is rooted in some truth. But at best, it's half truth, and most of the time, it's barely a quarter truth.
There you go. Basically saying most black people just brainless and dumb. And we can't decipher truth from untruth. And we don't know how to think. And we just dumb as apes. You uploaded this video 5 years ago. And that thing right there ain't got no likes. I said this video got 0 likes and 0 comments. And it's only 8 minutes long. Short videos are more likely to get a response. Why aren't you getting no real love, my man? You've been putting in work this long? 202 subscribers, and some of your oldest videos got no likes, no comment. Your oldest video is supposed to have the most likes and the most comments. I don't know. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe it won't. I mean, take it from a guy who's had multiple channels on YouTube. You might need to check your approach. This right wing pretending like racism don't exist, as if there's some type of benefit in that. I'm still waiting for you right wing conservative types to articulate how it's beneficial to pretend like racism is a figment of our imagination. Give me a scenario where that's going to benefit me. Because ever since I've been aware of racism and the history of it, all it has done is motivate me to be more productive. Right? To hold down a job and to improve, to move up the ladder, to do things in a legit way. And I hear this from a lot of black people. that they didn't become really productive until they got knowledge of self. Not race hustler rhetoric. I would say the majority of the so-called rhetoric that spreads in black circles is true history. And they're just admiring history, admiring their own accomplishments. Many of their accomplishments, they're just now finding out about. They're just now discovering, which is very sad. I talked about how I have a coworker who's almost 60 years old. This man didn't even know that black Americans created rock and roll or jazz. He didn't know that black Americans created jazz and rock and roll. Instead, he assumed blacks invented nothing. He thought the worst of his own group. That is the true sunken place. Don't sit up and try to tell us that something's wrong with us for knowing our history and for striving to accomplish the things that our ancestors accomplished. Our history is full of a bunch of people who earned a living in a legit way. And it has inspired many of us to be legit and stay out of these jails and stay off of drugs and to take care of ourselves. And it might help you. And I don't mean to bash you, bruh. I used to be obese myself. You need to get on a diet and take better care of yourself. You know one thing in these conscious circles that you bash all the time? One rhetoric or so-called rhetoric that floats in our circles is veganism. Taking care of ourselves. Why is it almost every time I run into a black person who eats intelligently and takes care of themselves, why is it they usually have a great knowledge of self? They know their history. They're involved in this race hustler rhetoric that you call. The knowledge that you keep in your brain, based on what I've seen, is detrimental to black people. Not any of the information shared by Tariq Nasheed or any of the scholars that Tariq Nasheed exalts. Now, this video has been a lot longer than I intended it to be, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. You're free to respond to this response if you want to. I think that would be a bad idea because, bro, you are just not built to be no speaker for black people. And I'm not saying that to insult you, man. Black people, we know it. We know true speakers when we hear them. And we know people who should not be speaking when we hear them, bro. And this is telling you everything you need to know. Shut this channel down and try to uplift your people. Who is that lunatic, that crazy chick? Cynthia G. Don't be the male version of Cynthia G. Where you just spewing nothing but venom at black males. Black men are the devils. What's next? You gonna start telling black women to abort black male babies like Cynthia G? This anti-black male rhetoric is dangerous when it's coming from other people. It's even more dangerous when it's coming from black people. And I think it'd be beneficial for black people like yourself to try to look for ways to connect with other black people. And the things that you disagree on, you just won't connect on those things. Don't pay them any attention. Only focus on what you agree with them on. That's how I deal with Tariq. Okay, I get into it when he's breaking down history, Primarily, I listen to him for the history lessons, the sharing of history, and the politic talk. I get into that. But just because I don't agree with everything don't mean that he deserves to be bashed and drug into the mud. And the last people I would expect to do that is other black men. What the hell is wrong with you? That's a museum. It's not a club. He's holding events, just like other owners of museums hold events. And they hold more events than Tariq. He ain't hustling nobody. Why don't you get out and actually support a black museum, black businesses for a change, rather than sitting back calling all of them race hustlers? Shout out to everybody who joined this rant, and I hope to see you on the next.